that was fighting for gay rights, and people were killed.
Nobody was killed at Stonewall.
Nobody was killed.
When you think about Drag Race queens, there's so many out there nowadays, with a market expanding to an international level. Although, not everyone has the same resume. Queens like Jinx Monsoon, who won both Season 5 and All-Star 7, holds the only record for a contestant to have been crowned on more than one occasion by RuPaul. While that's for sure impressive, the individual that I'm going to be talking about in this video has become known as the only queen to have won so many seasons of the RuPaul's Drag Race franchise that she's now in the double digits. Without further ado, please welcome the 4th inductee into the Interviewed by GreenGay Hall of Fame. Joining the likes of Pangina Heels, Minnie Cooper, and Aja is none other than Biblegirl. But before we start, please make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, follow me on Twitter at GreenGayYT, and follow my brand new Instagram and TikTok at It's GreenGay. Now, let's begin. If you're watching this, then A, you're a Biblegirl stan that just can't get enough content out of her. Or B, your very first reaction was, wait, who's Biblegirl? And we're curious enough to find out more. Well, Biblegirl is the story of an artist who allowed their ambition to guide them through life. It's a pretty unique trajectory that's adjacent to the RuPaul's Drag Race legacy. So I knew that if I wanted to tell this story, it needed to be done right. Luckily, Biblegirl was on board with collaborating with me and sharing some more details about her life. Just recently, she released her brand new song titled GRAMMYS, which was produced by VELVETTE, formerly known as Skelto, who is the same producer behind some of RuPaul's biggest hits over the past couple of years.
Well, this is the thing, is that this is before the song even was an idea. And so like I had never even actually communicated with Fred yet at all. And I have been an avid fan of his work with Ru forever. And so he had like tweeted after all like the dust was settling of whatever this volley with somebody was. And his tweet was something like, oh, exclusive, I'm producing Biblegirl's album. And that was like unprompted. He was just like leaning into, I guess, like the impetus of everything. It's like, I've been following him, and then I went and clicked on like his socials, and I was like, wait, he's been following me? Work. And so then I DM'd him on Twitter, and I was like, look, girl, I'm serious if you're serious. Let's fucking make it happen. And so like that's where the dialogue really started to come to fruition.
The song itself is reminiscent of an early 2000s aesthetic, specifically Britney Spears, which makes sense since she even name drops and references her in several moments of the song. It was a collaborative effort between the two where Fred really did his best to flesh out the ideas Biblegirl was having, eventually leading to the creation of GRAMMYS.
So see you next time, GRAMMYS 2025. It's been fun, but I really gotta run. Catch you at the next one, cause I'll probably win another one. It's been nice, but I got an early flight. So see you next time, GRAMMYS 2025. It's been fun, but I really gotta run. Catch you at the next one, cause I'll probably win another one.
You might be wondering how Biblegirl was able to build her brand to the point that she's now releasing pop classics, or to get to work with the likes of such a high-achieving music producer. I mean, this is someone that works routinely with RuPaul to create projects for her series. So to be able to, in a way, replicate that magic with your own legacy is pretty insane. It also highlights how the obsession for Biblegirl goes beyond just the internet, garnering the attention from some professionals within the industry. Yet to fully understand Biblegirl, we have to go back to the beginning. The company of Nintendo was founded in the year 1889, specifically September 23rd. September 23rd is also Biblegirl's birthday. Why is this relevant? Well, throughout her youth, she'd actually become a big fan of Nintendo, feeling a big connection to a lot of their games growing up. That's what in some way or another created the building blocks of her personality. Another constant in her life was social media, which she used as a big crutch to help navigate her through life and find people that she related to. For the most part, growing up, her parents were always pretty supportive of her, but it's her grandmother was always one of her biggest cheerleaders. By the age of just 19, she had finished high school, got her associate's degree at FIT for women's wear and fashion design, subsequently continuing her education by enrolling in a bachelor's program. But after about the first month of it, something hit her.
You know, even when like professors were like, well, what's your intentionality of like who you want to design for, who's your customer? Even back then, I was saying like, I want to do design work for drag performers. I guess to bring it back to your original question with the impetus of drag queen merch, was that I had hit my wall in like it was like a knitwear, like a class where we had to work on like a loom from like the 60s. It was just like so archaic. My yarn wasn't catching. I was just over it. And I went to take a smoke break upstairs from the basement in the class building, and just like take 5, sat on the steps, and I just thought over and over, I was like, I think I'm done here. And like I texted my parents, I was like, hey, so this probably isn't what you want to hear, but this is where I'm at, but this is what I see. And they were super supportive of just being like, okay, we trust you, you'll figure this out. And then when I presented that to Joyce, my grandma, what I love about her and just like her spirit is that she'll be the first to support you, but be the first to like push you to think about how you're gonna make something work. And so when she had caught wind that same day that was what my direction was gonna be, her first question and statement respectively were like, well, I started to go into like a smoker's voice because she was a massive chain smoker, so excuse me. She was like, well, all my friends are drag queens and most of them are like career couch surfers, so how are you gonna make it work? And I was like, watch, I got this idea. And that was DQF.
From this point on, life was gonna be different. In a way, it was a little scarier, especially to go down the route that not many would understand. At the same time, that's what made it so exciting. All the possibilities of potentially failing were paralleled by equal possibilities of success. This was now a real life game, and she was ready to be one of the players within the entertainment industry. On Halloween night 2013, after having just turned 20 years old, Biblegirl got herself into drag for the very first time in her life.
So the way it started on Halloween, I was working as a club promoter in straight clubs in the meatpacking district in New York, and I had already been going out prior to that since I was like about just 17 going on 18. I had a really good fake. In that phase, which I guess was probably about a year and a half or so before I had started doing drag, I befriended like a lot of the door staff and the bouncers. And so then I had eventually started to go into working as a promoter instead of just like a club attendee with other promoters. And so that then is when I had started to dabble into drag on that Halloween, for example, was when I did that debut.
After her first time in drag, she'd continue delving into it, and within just a couple months, she was already knee-deep into the art form, earning the approval from even the door staff and bouncers who told her that it really suited her to be a drag queen. Just like most of you watching this video, she was also a fan of RuPaul's Drag Race, falling in love with it all the way back when season 1 was airing on Loco TV in 2009. In that same respect, she was attending events like the Battle of the Seasons tour. Although one thing led to another, and she noticed in these RuGirl tours something that most people probably wouldn't have ever given a second thought about.
No, I was going to stuff like Battle of the Seasons, right? Circa like season 5, where that was being held at like Gramercy Theater. And I was seeing that, you know, much like how there would be merch tables at like a Warp Tour or something, there wasn't a system in place that necessarily was streamlined.
This giant boom in the drag world was new, which meant that it was going to need new creatives with a passion and vision to help create it. There was also no denying that at the moment, there was a weak system that wasn't streamlined enough for drag queens. So in a sense, it's through being a fan and attending these tours that it was one of the first glimpses she had into a world that would soon become her own playground too. By 2014, Drag Race was now airing their 6th season. One of the first RuGirls that Biblegirl ever met was Bianca Del Rio. Mind you, she had actually seen Bianca do some of her shows in New York City in the years leading up to season 6. Shortly before Bianca went to film her season, she alongside Sherry Vine were producing a music video together, and Biblegirl ended up being a part of it too. Throughout the making of it, they were super kind, creating a sense of community on the set of the video. It's that same sense of community that she tried to replicate for the people in her life too.
The first RuGirl that I did ever meet / have kind of always had this like by proxy connection with was Bianca. And that was because of my late grandma Joyce, who was really my intro to drag growing up. And so prior to Drag Race, Bianca was constantly, seasonally, every summer, you know, working in Cherry Grove, Fire Island. And so my grandma had been going out there for about 4 decades. And so it was through those communities where I saw a path of being able to find my way, and that there was a means of being able to make what I wanted to happen. Oh, I'll tell you exactly the first time that I met Bianca, now that I think about it. It was because of my grandma once again. Bianca and Sherry Vine were doing a music video together, and they needed some like assistance or something. And so my Joyce had kind of put me in contact with Bianca and Sherry and was like, oh, I think this is like exactly what you'd want to do. Like this is a great connection to like have for your like just network and like community. And so it was just like a very cool experience from start to finish. And like, you know, being on site at the bar that they filmed at, which I don't know I think it might still be around, I'm not sure, industry. Obviously, Bianca's Bianca, and knowing that she was going to be on the show, and just like knowing that she was Bianca even before that, like she's such a legacy queen as is Sherry, right? You coming into a space where it's like, I'm not coming in drag, I'm not coming in to like tell y'all or sell y'all on what I do, but they knew I was there as an assistant role, and they both came in with just such humility and humanity that it just like was such a grounding experience. And
you felt community there.
Yes, exactly. And literally to this day, like one of my best friends in my entire life, who I was actually just hanging out with last night, like I met on set there. Like it was just like a very formative core experience. And I remember, you know, Bianca was like kind of pooched on like steps by the stage of that venue and was just like on her phone and stuff, and like I was like, oh, do you need help? And she was just like, she was checking in with us and like was just super chill, both of them respectively, Sherry and Bianca, I should say. And I think that was definitely one of the first points of like that connection.
So then something was happening. It was like she was receiving crumbs from a meal that would be served to her once she really got into the hang of things. 2015 was probably the first real building block into the future of Biblegirl, because it's there that she starts to create her niche within the market of drag. To put it into perspective, Biblegirl had been doing drag at this point for over a year. Along with that, she built herself a pretty solid fan base on Twitter and other social medias. It's through that she networked with a lot of important people in the industry, which provided her with the chance to travel all the way to Brazil to go on tour. And trust me, this was a big deal. This was a queen that wasn't all that known, yet here she was alongside internationally acclaimed Ru girls like Laganja Estranja, Gia Gunn, Katya, Alyssa Edwards, April Carrion, and get this, the only other non-Ru girl in the lineup was Pablo Vittar, a very important figure within modern Brazilian pop culture, that of course to this day is the most followed drag queen in the world, even more than RuPaul. This tour would go on for 2 weeks, visiting a total of 6 different cities in the country.
Okay, so I left on Thanksgiving of 2015, and I was there for 2 weeks, and it was 6 different cities. But the way that came to be was literally because of Twitter. And, you know, that's the beauty about social media, and I think how it also ties into what the impetus of what my drag has always been, which has been tapping into the global culture and network of how we can always communicate through the platform of the internet. And as a kid growing up, that was my social life. And so my drag has always been heavily inspired by like kind of edgelordy MySpace era type personalities, but having at least like a positively leaning moral compass taken into consideration with that as well. And so, you know, through navigating on Twitter, and just my mantra to myself was, the second I'm told come to Brazil is when I know I've made it. And so that started to happen. And so as I started to really like not lean into it in like an exploitive way, I earnestly wanted to connect with the network of people that were following me and have been following me in Brazil. And so I started to, you know, become friends with a lot of them and learn about what their meme cultures were, and then through that understand like what certain words meant or what certain phrases meant, and kind of like all of those roots and how it all kind of connected us together. And so it was literally because of that earnest wanting to find that connection through our queerness and a global level of connectivity that was able to happen.
Subsequently, as you'll go on to find out in this video, there was a lot of times where Biblegirl would have to deal with a lot of heat from the public. But just like Elsa from Frozen said that the cold never bothered her anyway, the few obstacles that she would go on to face wasn't gonna scare her off so easily. In May 2015, the very first RuPaul's Dragcon took place in Los Angeles. For reference, this was in the middle of the airing for season 7. At this point, while Biblegirl had just came back from touring around Brazil, she decided to not just attend the very first Dragcon, but she also brought her own merchandise that she tried to sell at her own booth. Mind you, she'd go on to sell out all of her merch within the first day of Dragcon weekend. In a way, it was like the universe was giving her a sign that there was potential for her within this industry. Now, remember how I told you earlier how when Biblegirl would attend the Battle of the Seasons tour, she would specifically take notice at the merch tables? Well, that would end up lingering with her for the next several months, coming to fruition when shortly after her experience at Dragcon 2015, she decided to do one of her biggest career moves, which was the creation of drag queen merch. If you're a Drag Race fan, which I'm sure you are if you're watching this video, then chances are you've most likely heard of drag queen merch and have even purchased some of their products. Well, while today there is a lot more outlets to directly support the queens, back then this was a pretty innovative move to make. At its core, drag queen merch is an online platform that allowed queens to sell their own merchandise without the massive cost and logistics of traditional retailers.
And I think is the beauty about what drag queen merch is too, is that it is a universally accessible platform for drag entertainers at large. So it's like, just like where I started for myself, even before that website is what it is now, it's just a platform. And it's a platform for anyone who believes in what they do and has the vision to propel themselves and create their own platforms. Because, you know, I think it's easy to get caught up in, oh, there are prerequisites, no one's gonna buy my shit, no, like I don't know if I even have that many followers, and I don't think that's what it's about. I think I'm very grateful and acknowledge that, you know, without those who have been supporters is a great word, right? Those who have been able to support my visions, my endeavors, my POV, I wouldn't exist. None of this would exist without them. So like I've tried to really hone in on those who, whether they're consumers of drag or have started out as consumers of drag and are now drag entertainers themselves with aspirations, to just provide the access to a platform that makes people see that we can all just do it.
Biblegirl was not just looking out for herself, she was helping out other queens in the process, especially those who might not have the same level of exposure. Drag queen merch revolutionized the way queens could connect with the fans and make money, sort of empowering a whole community of performers, proving that there's room for everyone on the table, no matter where you're from, how you perform, or how big your following is. What it also did was legitimize a market that hadn't really been explored to its fullest extent. Part of what gave her the tools to even be able to execute this idea was the fact that growing up, her father was a licensed realtor worker for decades, so he taught her a lot of skills, passing on to her the ability to pave the way for something new.
Do a quick rewind. My dad has been in licensed retail for about 35-ish, a little bit more years. He doesn't like when I say 4 decades. He doesn't like that, but I digress. So I've kind of always been around the world of licensed retail. I've like shadowed as a kid, like going on business trips with him, sitting in boardrooms, just like seeing how it works. Growing up, he taught me how to do like Photoshop, you know, like when Pokemon was becoming a really westernized license and hyper popular out here. He was probing me to figure out what are the characters that the kids are responding to, like, do these styles and these style guides mean anything to you?
All of those years would serve as a time period to be able to formalize what worked and what didn't when it came to the marketability of different products. This was mirrored how when it came to launching drag queen merch, in its initial stages, there was a lot of pushback that she received from drag queens who critiqued her on, quote, trying to corporatize drag. I mean, this was an untapped market. It's not exactly like she was able to just follow a blueprint. Essentially, she was the pilot of a plane and had only just learned how to fly. It's that ability to push through that would actually make it easier for future queens to be able to market their merchandise via her platform to the fans. Naturally, just like any other queen at the time, one of Biblegirl's many career goals was to get the opportunity to compete on RuPaul's Drag Race, the biggest platform available that was creating superstars with every season they released. Which brings us to one of the most infamous stories surrounding Biblegirl's career, which is the lore behind the number 354. If you follow Biblegirl on Twitter, which I recommend you do, like literally pause this video and go follow Biblegirl on Twitter, because then you'll be able to notice the ominous use of the number 354. Towards the end of 2015, one of the most popular YouTube series from the World of Wonder channel was Transformations with James St. James, where every episode there'd be a guest drag queen or makeup artist, and they'd pretty much just paint over James in their drag style, while talking to each other during the whole process. Part of what made this series so interesting is that the guests typically featured non-Drag Race girls. I mean, yes, they'd occasionally bring in Ru girls to do a makeover, but usually it served as a gateway for fans to connect to a new artist. Most notably, it meant that you were now in the echo chambers of the World of Wonder production, with queens like Nina Bonina Brown being a guest almost an entire year before she went on to film season 9. It was a big deal for anyone to be featured on the channel, and Biblegirl ended up being invited, filming her episode with James at some point in the second half of 2015. So now here's where things got complicated. While the fact that Biblegirl had recorded an episode had already been made public knowledge shortly after they filmed, the issues came when after months of waiting, there was no sign of the new episode anywhere, with other James St. James episodes being released instead. Now, given that Biblegirl had a strong following online, and since this was a very exciting project to be a part of, in her own way, she hyped up her fans, but the fans ended up going overboard by how much they were tagging James St. James and World of Wonder on Twitter for them to release the Biblegirl episode. On January 6, 2016, World of Wonder uploaded the official James St. James episode featuring none other than Biblegirl. Only there was one thing that caught people's attention right away, and it was the fact that it was super short. At just 3 minutes and 54 seconds, it instantly became the shortest episode of Transformations with James St. James ever. Normally, the episodes were at least 10 minutes long, but the issue wasn't just the short length. The reason it was less than 4 minutes long is because they cut out most of the conversations that they had, leaving in just the moments when Biblegirl was name dropping each of the products that she was using in the process.
Me holding the record of the shortest James St. James transformation episode of all time. And that was because of I guess the fervency that my supporters had, knowing that it was already publicly announced that we had shot, got to the point where people, whether they lived in LA or not, would go outside of like the World of Wonder gate, where like they went dumpster diving on season 5, like where see the logo on it, be like, where's her video? And like they like got all hypey about it. And so like I guess to like give me divine retribution, cut out all of my personality and turn it into really bad product placement. And then that also started to create the narrative online with like Redditors, where it was like, oh, she's not talented, she doesn't know anything, she shouldn't be doing drag, blah, 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 blah. I was like, girl, whatever.
This was quite clearly a statement on behalf of World of Wonder, but at the same time, it was a legendary moment because it was the birth of Biblegirl 354. That being said, this then spawned a whole storm, where people on Reddit began dragging her, critiquing Biblegirl for having caused her fanbase to spam World of Wonder and James St. James on social media to pressure her into releasing the episode.
When I woke up in the middle of the night, it had the notification. I think a girlfriend of mine, Lindsay, she texted me. It was, I guess it got uploaded at midnight, and it was January of 2016, I believe, which was then 3 a.m. my time. And I clicked, I was like, oh my God, it's out. And then I clicked and I was like, it's 3 minutes and 54 seconds. What? And like, I kind of like watched, like scrum through, I was like, damn, yo. And did it sting at that point? Yes. Because I guess I must have just been freshly 22 at that point. So just like, like I really thought there was like a pipeline of like synergy going on here. but I guess not.
But the whole situation just wasn't all that deep. Even though it's easy for her to look back at it since it's been almost 10 years since it took place, when it was all first happening, it was quite the opposite. I mean, to put it into context, in her mind, all she was really doing was creating demand for the episode so that it would generate more excitement. That being said, there was an abnormal amount of attention being put on her because of the sheer amount of shade that radiated from the video. Plus, the Drag Race fanbase hasn't always been easy to deal with. Yes, you can go the route of never engaging with the comments section so you don't have to set yourself up to get hurt by someone else's opinion, but in a sense, it's through reading those hard critiques that it opens up an avenue for you to improve yourself, evolving your brand in a new way. Which makes sense, because Biblegirl would go on to reclaim the symbolism around the number 354, by merging it into much more than just that one-off event, and it was now a part of her ever-growing brand. Regardless, this whole situation led to a lot of people to speculate that it would result in her being blacklisted from competing. Yet people don't realize that in a sense, it may have had the opposite effect. A few months after the drama with James, she'd get contacted by World of Wonder to send in her audition tape for season 9 that was in the middle of the casting process. At the time, she had a lot of gigs going on, so she did make the audition tape, but it was done in a rush. Unfortunately, for one reason or another, they ended up shortlisting her, and she didn't make the final cast of season 9. Naturally, there's a lot of disappointment that she must have experienced, given that I think it would be the equivalent of being told that you might win an all-inclusive trip to Disneyland for a weekend, only to be told last minute that it actually won't be able to happen.
So the way that happened with season 9 was I had already made up my mind that I wasn't going to do it because of 354 gate. And then on April 1st, they sent me an email, in which then in bold red at the bottom was like, by the way, this isn't an April Fool's joke. We want your tape. And I was in the middle of like moving and had like a bunch of different like convention stuff that I was doing. And so I was just like, I really appreciate this. I don't know if like I have the right like timeline to provide exactly what you're looking for. And then the person I was talking with was like, oh no, it's fine. Just send us like anything. It's totally cool. So like I was filming like, I was like, all right, they're serious. So I was like filming in hotel rooms, on planes, just like
anything, yeah.
Fly, you know, and look, it was a bitchin' tape. Don't get me wrong, it was really good.
Ultimately, what got her to move on was the opportunities that she'd received in the time after. It didn't really matter to her whether or not she would make it on the show. It wasn't like that was the end all be all. Which brings us to her cameo in the music video for Alaska's song titled Anus, which released on May 20th, 2016. At the time, Alaska was one of the most popular queens from the show, who always put an effort into uplifting more artists within the drag community that expanded beyond just Ru girls. So it was no surprise to see when she did invite queens like Biblegirl to collaborate on some of her projects. It was also a testament to the networking skills that Biblegirl had been perfecting over the years. Let me explain. The reason this whole opportunity had even arisen is because almost a year prior to the release of the video, during Fashion Week 2015, she met Nick Laughlin, one of Alaska's longtime friends and collaborators. The very next day, she received a text from Nick saying that Alaska wanted Biblegirl to be a part of her new music video, asking her to send over the information so they could book her for a flight.
It was that Wednesday weekly that I had. It was called Hellfire Club. And I was outside in the smoking section, and it wasn't that late in the night. And I was talking to somebody, and then up from behind me, someone like does this, and I don't know who it is. And then I'm like, what's going on? And then I turn around and it's fucking Alaska.
Oh my God,
like,
I would think that's crazy.
I was like, wait, because like Alaska pre-Drag Race was someone that I really looked up to in terms of, you know, aesthetic, branding, just overall ways of leading.
She was the it girl, especially during those years. She was like the one. And in the music video you ended up being a part of, like the Alaska music videos for that first album that she came out with was always such an event to be watching them.
Yeah, because I guess that was probably in the lead up to All Stars 2.
Yeah,
right?
It was like the summer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, so we, you know, had our key that night. It was fabulous, lovely. She's lovely. I love her to this day, obviously. But I believe it was the following morning that Nick had texted me. It was like, Alaska wants you in her video. What's your information? We're gonna get the flights booked. Are you free this weekend or whatever, or this like string of days? And I was like, Yes, yes, and yes.
The music video was shot in January 2016, being a 2-day shoot, where she slept on Alaska's couch for 5 days. It's through making that video that she got to meet queens like Willem and Raja too. In fact, the scene where she's a part of is supposed to represent the past, present, and future of drag. Raja was the it girl from the past, Alaska was the present, and Biblegirl was the future. Which wasn't all that far-fetched. I mean, even in the year that followed, she spent it working on a new project of hers, which was to launch a mobile game app about drag queens, titled Biblegirl's Big Apple, which officially launched towards the end of 2017, marking a pretty big milestone, because yes, while the game in itself didn't necessarily stick around, it in a way was ahead of its time. There was many components to the game, like the storyline, that added enough basic elements for it to be a functional thing. Something that she kept mentioning throughout the interview was that one of the roots of her drag has always been to use it as a method of doing satirical commentary on pop culture. By the year 2017, mobile video game apps had become super popular, so it made sense that she wanted to make a video game surrounding drag. While the game may or may not still be available to play, it was sort of like a foreshadowing of the future, because just 4 years later, in October 2021, World of Wonder would launch their own official mobile game titled RuPaul's Drag Race Superstar, where you start off as a stylist and work your way up to becoming a drag icon. Their game is currently still active, with new queens being added every couple months, which comes as no surprise since their game has the backing of a much larger budget. But it is yet another example of how Biblegirl was ahead of the game. Needless to say, well, over the next few years, Biblegirl would move on from wanting to audition to be on Drag Race, zoning in on her own growth as both a person and a brand. That's why on August 26, 2018, she moved from New York City to Los Angeles, California. This is where most queens set their eyes on, especially when it comes to drag careers. So it makes sense that this would be the next move for her. But then, why does any of this matter? The reason Biblegirl's story is significant is because she didn't come from RuPaul's Drag Race, which, let's be real, is how a lot of queens get their big break these days. Yet that's why Biblegirl's story gets to be so impressive. She's proof that you don't need a TV show to make it in the drag world. She built her brand from scratch and created her own lane. That being said, if Biblegirl had been a Drag Race girl, she most likely wouldn't have had to deal with a lot of the obstacles she faced in her career, given that she would have had a much bigger platform with a lot more resources. What allowed her to succeed was her constantly aiming for the stars, unafraid of what others might think, and it's along her journey to reach those stars that she'd inevitably become one herself. By the time we get to the year 2020, the fruits of her marketability reflected once again in international gigs, traveling to Europe to perform in places like Madrid, Spain, where she'd meet drag artists of all different types. Yet it's right at the height of this that the COVID-19 pandemic would cause lockdowns worldwide, affecting everything, but also the gay nightlife that would have to be put on pause for the next couple of years until things could go back to normal. The world of drag under the lockdowns is something that deserves to be covered in its own video. So if you'd like to know more about that, you can check out this video that I'll link below. But anyways, over the past 10 years, we saw Biblegirl evolve. Yet the next step in her legacy was something that even caught me by surprise, which is that Biblegirl has actually started to expand her legacy, creating her drag family called the House of Girl, which features a queen named Delilah Wild. So get this, I attended Dragcon LA 2024, and not only did I get to meet Biblegirl in person, but I also got to get acquainted with her newly adopted drag daughter, Delilah. The story of the House of Girl, which is literally only comprised of Biblegirl, the founder, and Delilah, her drag daughter, is the following. They randomly met on Twitter in the summer of 2023 and ended up becoming really close friends over the past year, which makes so much sense, because even just based on aesthetics alone, they'd end up gravitating towards each other.
The way we met is just like, Delilah's one of my best friends, one of my closest confidants, and we just met randomly on Twitter last summer, and
she was already a drag queen by this point.
Yes, and the reason why our drag familyhood works as well as it does is because we both come from very similar spaces of trajectory in our drag, both being very digitally based. She was doing teenage YouTube drag competitions that she was winning with like flying colors growing up, and so like had kind of just like this POV that was so unique and specific to her. And then before we had really kind of had that conversation, like, oh, maybe like this is something that we should like maybe like outwardly put on display as a thing, we were like bouncing off of each other without realizing that we were. And it was like, oh my God, like I'm learning more about my drag because of you, and then like vice versa. And it was just kind of like, it is this very beautiful thing where we just kind of are. And like, I think what's really cool about our being the House of Girl is that respectively we maintain our own identities, and it's not like there's like this shadow effect on her, you know. And I really take a lot of pride in that. And it just felt like, you know, 10 years into doing this, it just felt like such an appropriate next chapter in my drag to share it with another respective drag artist, in which like,
so before then you had none. You had no drag daughter.
No, and my tubes are tied now, honey. Trust. Like the one and done, we're good.
Basically, if you're a fan of Biblegirl, you should go give Delilah a follow on social media too. Now, something that I didn't know is that while Biblegirl has cemented her brand within the drag community, would she still be interested in auditioning for RuPaul's Drag Race? I mean, it's a double-edged sword. On one hand, there's a lot of drag queens out there that have given up on sending in audition tapes because of both the sheer amount of work it takes to create it, as well as the disappointment you have to face if you don't get the call. Or in Biblegirl's case, seemingly making it so close to the final cast only to be shortlisted. Regardless, while Biblegirl did stop auditioning shortly after she didn't get cast on season 9, there does seem to be a small glimmer of hope for those fans that still would like to see her one day compete on RuPaul's Drag Race. Which is why you might be shocked to find out the World of Wonder actually reached out to her recently in December of 2022. They were in the beginning stages of casting season 16, so they contacted her to send in her audition tape to see if she'd be interested in potentially competing.
Okay, so I'll put it this way. I don't care if this is breaking no rules, because if they want me, they want me, right? So like, they had asked me about season 16, and my response was, you let me know what you want to see, and I'll get it to you. They left me on red. So that was enough for me. I was like, look, if they want me, they want me. And that doesn't mean that I'm too good enough for an audition tape. I've done one twice. Is it still a dream? 1000%. I would leave it at a never say never kind of situation. Because I have a lot of respect for what the show has done in terms of platforming.
Regardless, whatever's in store for Biblegirl's future, we'll all be ready to join along for the ride. If you haven't already, go follow Biblegirl on social media. Her Twitter at Biblegirl354 is iconic and will bless your feed. Thanks again to Biblegirl for becoming the 4th inductee into the Interviewed by GreenGay Hall of Fame, and make sure to comment some love for her below. Also, go stream GRAMMYS right now.
So see you next time, GRAMMYS 2025. It's been fun, but I really gotta run. Catch you at the next one, cause I'll probably win another one. It's been nice, but I got an early flight. So see you next time, GRAMMYS 2025. It's been fun, but I really gotta run. Catch you at the next one, cause I'll probably win another one.
I want to take a moment to thank my patrons. In the Elite Pink Squad, we have Matthew Burns, Gay Uncle, Sari Tish, Natasha De Leon, Las Potitas, and Cool Gal Nan. And in the Green Squad, we have Cayman Rider Furry, Edgar Allan Pup, The Only Sean, IJS, Not a Punch But a Keek, Jack Beck, Captain Chaos, Bashir with the good beard, Galeria Gomez, Dea, Sarah G, Scarlet Rose, Boiled Peanut, Kimberly Marin, Max Whale, and Olivia Marr. If you'd like to see your name on the screen, you can support me on Patreon. The link will be in the description. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel as we're almost at 100K. Make sure to check out some of my other videos and let me know in the comments what video you'd like to see me cover next. I'll see you guys next time.